Week 16 of the NFL season is here, and just as gamblers all across the country are getting a feel for the games, so are the lines makers, and that doesn't make our jobs any easier. Welcome to Two for Your Money. Glad you're here, and don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us across all social media, and then you'll get notified each and every time that a show drops. Steve Budin here, legend in my own mind, owner and operator of the largest sports betting analysis company in the world, and I'm joined each week by my partner in crime, the always entertaining, reigning heavyweight handicapping champion of the world. I'm talking about you know who, Brandon Lang. What's up, champ?
Another day, another dollar. My man here in NYC. So, life's good, man. Life's good. You know that.
Okay, B, let's be honest. There are many sports gambling podcasts to choose from, but none like this one. Nowhere will you find two better opinions that come from two more opposite sides of the tracks. Brandon, hands down the most well-known handicapper in the industry. He's a household name, but only if that house is filled with psycho gamblers who live and die with each and every photo finish. Me, on the other hand, former bookmaker, creator of the offshore and online sports betting industry. I don't study players, teams, or game film. When it comes to each game, it's always me and my gut instinct against the number. All right, before we get into this week's games, Brandon, I turn to you because I got to ask your opinion on this. Las Vegas, it's a town you and I both love. You lived there for a decade. I worked there for over a decade. And now each and every restaurant in Vegas, it's always the number one restaurant in town, right? I mean, have you ever seen a restaurant that's considered the second best restaurant in Las Vegas? 400 restaurants, all seemingly tied for first place. So give me your top three places to eat in Sin City.
Number one, right out of the box, SW at Wynn. I had my Elvis wedding dinner there. You, of course, got married at the Elvis Chapel. I got married at the Elvis Chapel November 9th. Fantastic experience with Elvis, but we went to SW at Wynn. Number two, steakhouse, Barry's at Circa. As soon as you go in downstairs, phenomenal. Circa, as far as the property is concerned, not many people know this, it's 18 and over. So no kids in there. And then downstairs, you're going to run into Raider players all the time. Great spot. And last but not least, 9 Steakhouse at Bellagio. Can't beat it. Overlooking the water with the light show there on the strip. So 3 bona fide steakhouses you cannot go wrong with in Vegas.
Yeah, so for me, I was in Vegas a couple of months ago, and I ate at a spot at the Wynn, which, by the way, I know it's not spelt the same way. It's W-Y-N-N for Steve Wynn and not W-I-N. Interesting how so many people could lose in a place called the Wynn, but that's another story for another day. I ate at a place called Delilah. Unbelievable. It was modern, yet it was retro. They had a great girl singing while I was there. Unbelievable chicken fingers, like a meal you would get at like a food court, but you buy the $50 chicken fingers, at Delilah. Outstanding. I'm sitting next to CeeLo Green, Brandon, and I'm looking at him, and his neck. Have you ever seen a neck that big? He was at a table for 2. It was CeeLo Green and his neck. And I couldn't stop staring. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. But the food at Delilah was top notch. The atmosphere was the best I'd ever been in Vegas. Unbelievable spot. Next for me, like you, is downtown. Important for me to always go to Old Vegas, where it all started. And I go to Vic and Anthony's over at the Golden Nugget. And at Vic and Anthony's, I mean, it looks like 1980, 1990 decor is shot, but the food is better than anywhere. Every table looks like there's a mafia sit-down going on. I love the food there. Vic and Anthony's is a winner for me. I put it up. I mean, obviously, Prime at Bellagio is amazing. SW at the Wynn is sick, but I'll put the food at Vic and Anthony's up against anyone. And finally, for me, number one is a freestanding building right next to the Wynn, and it's called Bagel Mania. It's where Jews go to heaven. It's unbelievable. The best bagels you've ever had. I had the challah French toast there. I called my grandmother up and told her to go fuck herself. That's how good Bagel Mania is. And anyway, moving right along from that, I'm getting kind of...
By the way, you took me there.
Yeah.
I had the French toast.
Yeah.
It's a coma waiting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. You can't finish it.
Yeah.
It's a half a loaf of bread and phenomenal.
Yeah.
So Hat off on that one.
So let's take a quick left turn to the NBA, where ratings, Brandon, are down 48% since 2012. They're down 28% this year alone on ESPN. Every other sports league is setting records while the NBA crashes and burns. So is this a simple case of go woke, go broke, or is there something more to this? Brandon, what's going on?
No, the fan is tired of players sitting out. LeBron taking a week off for personal matters. Players, starters not playing 30 minutes before game time, affecting gamblers as well. It's more about what players do you like to watch. For me, there's only 3 players in the league that I'll sit down and watch a game with. It's Steph Curry, Ja Morant, and Anthony Edwards. Those are the 3 guys that if they're on TV, I'll watch them. Or my good friend Lee Strother's son, Julian Strother, plays for the Nuggets. So I might turn on the Nuggets and watch Julian a little bit. But other than that, it's a terrible product, and it's only going to get worse. The NBA Cup. It's like the FedEx Cup in golf. Who wants to watch the top 60 players go play for $10 million? Nobody. Like okay, the NBA Cup, each player gets $500,000. I don't know, a bench player's making $49 million a year. You really think he cares about $500,000?
Right.
But we'll make it the NBA Cup, take him to Vegas and play 2 games and then a finals. I just don't, again, it's a hard product to watch. It's watered down, and I don't see the upside. I just don't see the upside of where it's going based on the current product and not hammering down. Michael Jordan played all 82 games every single year.
With the flu.
With the hurt. It's unbelievable.
No, I agree.
Now we're gonna play him every other game to give him rest. Bullshit.
No, I agree. It's complete bullshit. For me, it did start with the NBA players taking the knee, during the national anthem. That was the beginning of the end for me, for the NBA. A blatant, brutal miscalculation of the viewing public, right? That they feel would somehow sign on and co-sign that bullshit, when really the people watching sports are red-blooded Americans who love this country, and the last thing they want to see is people that have gotten opportunity like no one else in this country try to say that they're oppressed, right? Like the message of oppression, like whether you believe in that or not is one thing, but the messenger can't be the most privileged athletes in the world who should be blessing this country, who should be thanking this country for the opportunities they've had, and they're taking a knee. And then you talked about the old school. You talked about Michael Jordan, right? And it was Michael Jordan. It was Larry Bird. It was Magic Johnson. And these guys were ambassadors of the league. And the fish stinks from the head down. And that head right now is LeBron James. Taking his birthday off. Imagine you're a kid in the middle of nowhere who buys a 6-game series because you can't afford, season tickets. So you get a 6-game package is what they call it, right? And one of those games is obviously the Lakers, because everybody wants to see LeBron James. And now you show up, you don't look in advance if it's his birthday, if it's not his birthday, it's your 6 games, right? And you show up for the Lakers, and LeBron James isn't playing because it's his birthday. I mean, how do you say that to that kid? How do you do that? And there it is. There's and then Adam Silver. You think you're gonna put bright colors on the floor and that's gonna change things? That's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It could be the 3rd game of the season, in New York, and the Knicks are playing the Bulls back in the 80s, and they played like it was the playoffs. And that's what resonates with players, and that's why the league stinks now and was great back then, and I couldn't agree with you more.
I'll tell you this. You had mentioned taking it. I want your opinion on this. I bet you in places, Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men, places you don't talk about at parties, Colin Kaepernick in his alone moments with his 2 best friends now, sitting in his man cave, wherever that's at, and they look him in the eye, and they say, if you had to do it all over again, would you take that knee? I fucking guarantee you, he says, fuck no. Yeah. Guarantee it. Yeah. He thought he'd get back in the league. He thought that he would be celebrated. Nobody talks anything about him now. There's nothing mentioned to him about now. What did it do? It ended his career. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. I'll take a stand now. Nobody's talking about this 5-6 years later. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And let me tell you something else. If you're the NFL and you're watching this, here's a little warning. Enough with the cheerleaders with the beards and the boobs. Okay, we don't want to see male cheerleaders and pom-poms. You're going to go by the wayside, just like the NBA. You better learn from their mistakes. We don't want men in cheerleading costumes with boobs and beards and pom-poms. That's not going to work for us. And, okay, I think I've said enough here. Go ahead.
Easy, no transgender cheerleaders. I don't think it's going to happen. I get it. I know where you're going.
Every team has male cheerleaders with pom-poms. Have you not seen this? Brandon, every single team has male cheerleaders with pom-poms now, and the next step is beard and boobs, and that's what's going on. And if they do that, they will suffer the same consequences of the NBA.
I'll take you down a different rabbit hole. They're just preparing us for the first transgender cheerleader. I'm telling you right now. Tell you, bro.
We're not having it. It's the Bud Light. It's the NBA. They better learn from their mistakes. And okay, all right, enough.
All right.
Let's move along and shift gears from the NBA to last week in the NFL. There were a few heartbreaking or thrilling victories. I mean, depending on which side of the game you were on. B, what was the worst beat on the street last week and why?
Game behind me, Saints, Washington. I know Al DeMarco on my website had a big play on Washington. He was looking fantastic. Bought the half point down to 6.5. They're up 20-13. A 54-yard field goal to go up by 10. They miss it, and in that last 2 minutes, you know what's going to happen. Spencer Rattler, a rookie, takes him down the field and pipes in a touchdown with 1 second to go. 2019, they decide to go for 2 for the outright win. They don't get it. But the backdoor cover with 1 second to go. It's amazing. Washington makes field goal, goes up 23-13. They start from their 20, no timeouts. They're not scoring. They're not. And so that to me was probably the worst beat of the entire weekend in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that completely. And okay, before we get into that thing that everybody came for, the weekly NFL winners. Let's do what we do on this show that no other sports gambling does. Let's take a look around the country and discuss what the fuck is going on. First up, right, a student opened up fire at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin on Monday, killing 3 or more people, injuring 7 or more, and then committing suicide. It's one of more than 320 shootings that have taken place on school grounds this year alone. Look, and while school shootings are widespread in the U.S., it's something that we've had to learn to deal with. This one was a little unusual because the shooter was a 15-year-old girl. Brandon, what the fuck is going on?
That was the most troubling thing to me because my daughter's 15.
Right.
And to know the way she is as a kid, at 15 years old, and the things that she's dealing with, and as a father, talking her through those things. As this uncoils and unravels, and Steve-O, they're going to get into her background, and her parents are helping in any way they can. But for a 15-year-old girl to figure out how to possess a gun, go to a school, albeit a Christian school, that she attends and does this. There's some deep, dark, hardcore something going on to tilt this young girl to do this. And I know it just from spending time with my daughter.
Yeah. Something
dark is going to come out in this because I still can't, me personally, get my head around of all these shootings we've had. This is the first time we've had a female and a 15-year-old. I'm still in shock.
Yep.
I really am. Again, as my mom would say, and God rest her soul, this world's going to hell in a handbasket. Yeah. And I don't see next 4 years are going to be good because we got a guy in there who knows what he's doing. But beyond that, I don't know, buddy. Yeah. It scares me. It does.
So for me, Brandon, the first thing I thought in my mind was, is this a transgender? You know, and people are like, oh, you're hating, you're a hater. Look, Colorado Springs shooter was non-binary. Nashville school shooter was trans. Aberdeen shooter, trans. Denver school shooter, trans. Iowa school shooter, transgender, gender fluid. Lakewood church shooter was trans. So, like, you know, why wouldn't I think that? Why haven't they mentioned it? Why haven't they said it's not that case? I don't know that it's the case.
They said that they don't feel it's trans related. That's what got me onto what's the rabbit hole that we're dealing with. So
that's the first thing I thought of. You know what the second thing I thought of was also having two daughters and gone through high school with them already. The 50% of our high school students that are female are on some type of antidepressant. Okay, now the one thing we know about antidepressants is they don't work long term. But if you read on the antidepressant medication, it says suicidal and homicidal thoughts, right? So, like, that's the second thing I'm thinking is she suffering from a depression that our society these days just want to medicate our kids, whether it's for ADD, ADHD, whatever it is. I mean, they just want to give our kids drugs and medicate them, and that's the second thing I thought of. And I just don't know, but I'm with you. I think this is a sign of the times. I think that, you know, our kids are our greatest asset. They're our most valuable possession and property, and we should protect them certainly more than we protect airports. I mean, they're more important than any airport is. They put in all these different, you know, checkpoints at airports and all these different security measures, by the way, none of which would have stopped 9/11. All they really do is become a big pain in our ass when we're trying to travel, but we don't protect our kids. We send hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign lands to start wars that are marching us towards World War III, right?
Yep.
And yet we could take that money, the hundreds of billions of dollars that we send overseas, and we could harden and protect every one of our schools, and we can take every one of our veterans off the street and give them a home. So for me, you know, it's, you know, what's more important to you, these wars, these protracted wars, or our children and our veterans? And for me, it's our children and our veterans. And now let's just move along to something a little bit lighter than that, but still fun to talk about. Our boy Trump went to the Army-Navy game at Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland, by the way, less than 15 miles from his soon-to-be residence once again at the White House, thank God. Trump, as always, he was with a powerhouse posse. Look, Brandon, this guy always goes everywhere with the coolest guys in town. You remember in high school when they had that cool table at lunchtime that everybody wanted to sit at? Man, Trump would have been at that table. He was with VP to be J.D. Vance, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who I'm not a fan of, incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who I'm not a fan of, the man Elon Musk, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Daniel Penny, our guy that we talked about last week after being acquitted of charges in the death of that menace, George Neely in New York City, our hero. He was with them. Did you see our boy at the big game, bro? He's such a boss.
Let me tell you. Having served our country on the battleship New Jersey, 81 to 84, having been to that game, and the game itself is insane. Should be your guy's bucket list to go to an Army-Navy game. Incredible. Just making his presence felt. You know, I sent you that stand-up bit about him taking the bullet. Priceless. Guy shook that up, raised his hand, and said, "Let's go," which I think that helped win him the election big time, his reaction to that. But yeah, just presence, just making his presence felt, and you know, Penny being there, I thought was great. I'm a big Vance fan, as you know, so watching him, you know, tag along, it was great. It was absolutely great. And the game itself, was being a Navy man, it was nice to see Navy win and move forward. But that's our boy Trump doing what he does.
And whether he's at UFC with Kid Rock, Tucker Carlson, Dana White, I mean, or at the football game with the VP and the Speaker of the House, man, like, it's just good to have you know, imagine you're at home and Joe Biden's office calls and says, "Hey, Joe Biden wants to have dinner with you." You're like, "Oh my God, we got to make up an excuse. Why we don't want to go to that? Like, there's no way we want to go to that." And imagine Trump calling you and saying, "Hey, man, you know, I want you to go to dinner with me." It's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna call every person I know and let them know that Trump just called me to go to dinner." It's nice to have the man once again, you know, in control. And look, before we go forward, I just want to talk about the number one sports analysis website in the country. Let's pay a little bills. 2foryourmoney.com is now live. 2foryourmoney.com. 17 of the top handicappers in the country, including me, including Brandon. It's a one-stop shop for everything you need to get in order to get an edge on your man. Tell us a little more about the website, Brandon.
Hey, let me tell you something. It's great. Closest thing to the movie you can get, and hard to believe it's been 19 years. That's pretty crazy. And yet, I'd say every 3 days I get a text from somebody who's saying that the movie's on.
Right.
Streaming somewhere, HBO, Showtime, something. The shelf life of this with Matt. Can't say enough. Yeah. We text about once or twice a year. It's great. I don't bother him. He doesn't bother me. But if I need an autographed picture sent to someone, Matt's always there to do it. So, yeah, it's good to have 2 for the money back in the let's say YouTube world, and looking forward to it.
Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do right now. I want you to go to 2foryourmoney.com, 2foryourmoney.com, and get yourself a free all-access pass. It's 2 days free, all the premium picks, every single handicapper on the site, exactly what a paying customer would get. You get a one-day pass. It's an average of $100. So for 2 days, it would be an average of $200, and you're going to get it absolutely free when you get the free all-access pass. And ask yourself these 2 questions. Number 1, if our premium picks weren't great, why would we let you try them before you buy them? And number 2, what do you have to lose? It's absolutely free, and free means free. The all-access pass, you'll get 2 free days from 17 of the top handicappers in the country, including me, including Brandon, only at 2foryourmoney.com. All right, guys, it's time now. The time you've all been waiting for. Here comes the winners. It's the free pick segment of our show. And I just want to say before we start it, straight up winners versus the spread in Week 15 of the NFL is a mind-boggling 1-1, 14 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. That's against the spread. The total for the NFL season is now 182 wins, 38 losses, and 4 ties against the spread, 82.7%. So that means if you pick the winner of the game, the chances are you will cover the spread. Now let's look at straight up winners versus the spread in prime time games only. An astounding 43-8-2 against the spread, and the favorites 33-19-2 against the spread. So if you're out there and you're the guy that always bets the dog on TV games, my question to you is, how's that working for you? So now we've covered who actually covered up until now. Let's get down to business. First up, college playoff quarterfinals. The expanded 12-team college football playoff has brought us some exciting first-ever matchups, including marquee showdown between Clemson and Texas. In the first round, Texas minus 12. The total is 52. Neither of these teams made anybody any money so far this season unless you bet against them. Clemson and Texas are both 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 games. Brandon, what do you like?
Hard to go against Dabo as a dog here. But, again, Texas hasn't made anybody any amount of money. For me, this Texas defense is legit, but so is Clemson's. And so as I look at this game, when you have a defense as good or equal to the one you're playing, it's hard for me to turn away the double digits. I had Vandy earlier this year plus the points over Texas. They're plus 17. They got there, lost by 10. I just think Clemson and Dabo Swinney getting double digits here is just too many points. I do. And I think they're able to go in here and hang around and get the point spread cover. He's fantastic as a dog in championship-type atmosphere in games. They've battled back. Hard to blow a team out, the defense that Clemson has. So I'm going to take Clemson plus the points here over Texas. Not a believer just yet in Steve Sarkisian in big games, as we saw losing twice to Georgia. They really didn't play anybody all year long. So I'm going to take Clemson plus the points.
All right, well, the under's been the play for both squads. Listen, B, men lie, women lie, but numbers never lie. Tigers under in 4 of the last 6. Longhorns under in 8 of the last 9. Tigers offense, like my high school girlfriend, no skills whatsoever. Texas offense, number 106 in the red zone. So riddle me this. How are these teams going to put 52 points up on the board collectively? They're not. Bet the under. Next up, arguably the most highly anticipated first-round game. 8th and 9th ranked teams face off in an epic battle. It's Tennessee versus Ohio State. Ohio State -7. Total 46.5. And can the Buckeyes keep pace with that volunteer offense? Can they fend off a Tennessee defensive unit as good as I've seen in a while? What do you say, B. Lang?
Well, I'm going to borrow from you in the first game. This defensive front of Tennessee is legit. And for Tennessee to go in here and try to put up offensive numbers against that defense in front of Ohio State and the blitz package that they're going to bring, probably similar to what they did against Indiana and Rourke. They just blitzed him. They gave him bad looks. He was not able to really make adjustments. You got a true freshman quarterback going on the road in this environment to try to move that offense. And against elite teams, that offense struggled. This posted total, as you said, 46.5. I'm going to go under. I think both these defenses are going to be controlled. I don't see it being as low scoring as Michigan and Ohio State was, but that Tennessee defense is pretty good. And to watch Michigan just stifle Ohio State, granted, was a rivalry game. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm going to force these two to show me that they can get over this posted total of 46.5. I'm going to play it under.
All right, I give an advantage to the favorites in the first 3 playoff games. They're going to hold serve at home, I think. But this one to me is a bit of a wild card. Look, Buckeyes' offensive line is a mess. 2 key players are out. Tennessee's defensive line is top 10 in the country. They are going to bring the heat. So I like Tennessee to cover the number. But who wins? I don't really care. I'm just going to take the points and cash the ticket. Now, let's switch gears to the NFL. First up, the highly anticipated matchup. 10-4 Pittsburgh Steelers and the 9-5 Baltimore Ravens. Ravens -6, total 44.5. The game is set to take place at M&T Bank Stadium on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Steelers, strong on the road, take on the Ravens, who are strong at home. Look, this AFC North clash promises to be nothing short of an all-out war. Who do you like, B. Lang?
I drank the Kool-Aid last week with Pittsburgh and Philly. Pickens was out. They looked terrible. Although the fumble by Najee Harris, it's 2013. They're at the Philly 22. He fumbles. Maybe they tied up there inside the number. We'll never know because Philly turned around, went right down and scored, made a 27-13 game-set match. Historically speaking, every single game between these two is a war decided by 3-4 points or less.
Right.
I just get the feeling that this is the game. If you watch the first meeting, Pittsburgh didn't beat Baltimore. Baltimore beat themselves. Right. It was atrocious what they did. Back home, winning the division all of a sudden is right there for the taking. You win this, you're both tied. Pittsburgh's got another tough game against Kansas City up next. Baltimore could win the division, and I think they do. And with this line being underneath a touchdown, I think this is the time to jump on the Ravens minus the points.
All right, I like that. Considering the history between these two teams, I'm also leaning towards the Ravens here. To me, Ravens are just too complete of a team, passing, running, everything. The Steelers, they're having an amazing year. That year ends here. So also give me the Ravens minus the points. Okay, finally, the Detroit Lions, sporting an impressive 12-2 overall record with an undefeated 6-0 road record, will face off against the 4-10 Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. Detroit, 6.5, total 47.5. Lions dominated conference opponents, 8-1 record. Bears have struggled with a 2-7 mark against conference teams. Mr. Lang, do your thing. What do you think?
Let me tell you something about the Bears-Lions matchup. For whatever reason, the Chicago Bears have Detroit's number. Last year, they went into Detroit. They were up 27-13 with 4 minutes to go. They had the game won. They were getting 11.5. Lions scored 2 touchdowns in the last 4:30 and ended up winning by 1. Later on in the year, they went to Chicago. Chicago dominated them and beat them. Then on Thanksgiving Day this year, Lions are about ready to go up 23-0. Gibbs fumbles at the 2-yard line. They go in halftime 16-0. Bears come out in the second half, scored touchdowns on 3 of their first 4 drives. Their 5th drive was the clock management debacle that, of course, led to their firing of their head coach. Now they're at home. Listen, Bears looked like they didn't play well against Minnesota. They just couldn't convert on third down. But they fought hard, and they're going to fight hard here. And now you talk about the Lions being banged up. Listen, they were banged up when they faced the Bears 3 weeks ago on Thanksgiving when they couldn't stop them in the second half. Now they are completely banged up. They lost 2 more D linemen, another linebacker. I feel sorry for Dan Campbell. I really do. He had a chance to go to the Super Bowl last year, doesn't kick the field goal to go up by 17, and then they end up losing to San Francisco. Everybody said they were the Super Bowl pick. They looked like they were, and now they're hit by injuries. I'm going to throw this out there. Dan Marino played in the Super Bowl his rookie year.
Yep.
He never got back.
Nope.
It's amazing how Detroit was so close. And I think they win the Super Bowl this year if they don't get injured. But they're not. And they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs because that defense is too banged up and their offense can't plus 6.5. I'll buy it up to 7. I'll spin the 130, and I'll take the Bears plus 7 to keep it close at home and to fight against a ravaged Lions defense. That is too. They have 1 starting corner from the beginning of the year. That's it. Everybody's hurt. 3 D linemen hurt. 2 linebackers hurt. It's a mash unit. I'm going to take the Bears.
All right, well, on this one, we happen to disagree. Look, for me, Brandon, football, everything being equal, is still a game of quarterbacks, right? And I'm going to take Goff over Williams 8 days a week. Look, here's the things for gamblers. Here's the one thing about gamblers, and it's all gamblers. When something looks easy, it usually is. So don't let your mind play tricks on you. Dun 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 dun. Lay the points with the Lions. That'll do it for this week. I know you like that, by the way. Before we go, last but not least, it is the joke of the week. Okay, Brandon, I got a lot of comments about last week's jokes. We got to step up our game this week. First, you hit me with the joke of the week.
Guy retires from Wall Street, moves down to West Virginia, buys a farm. He's out there just having a cup of coffee in the morning. Big pickup truck, big country boy gets out.
Yeah.
Howdy, neighbor. Welcome to the county. I live in that big house next door. I'm throwing a party tomorrow night. I want to invite you. Guy says, great. I just moved down here from New York. Be good to meet the town folk. What kind of party? Well, going to be a lot of drinking, a lot of dancing, a lot of fighting, and there's going to be a whole lot of fucking. Guy says, hey, that's my kind of party. Plato's Retreat. I'm all about that. What shall I wear? He said, don't matter. It's just going to be me and you.
I like that. All right, B, here's one for you. What's the difference between a garbanzo bean and a chickpea? A garbanzo bean and a chickpea.
I got no idea.
Yeah, nobody pays to have a garbanzo bean on their face. Okay, we're done here. That's right. This episode is officially in the books. Don't forget to go to twoforyourmoney.com. That's 2 for the money. Sorry, 2 for your money, not 2 for the money. 2 for the money was the movie. 2 for your money is the show and the website. 2foryourmoney.com. We'll see you next week. For Brandon Lang, I am Steve Budin, and this was 2 for Your Money.